Hey everybody, it's Charles, your hobby hero, coming at you today with another deck breakdown. This time it is going to be an Amber Ruby list centered around the new legendary Mufasa. But before we get started, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button down in the bottom corner. I do appreciate it. I do put out regular content about the hobbies that I love the most, with this channel being dedicated to the card games that I play. Now, you heard me right. I said Mufasa. This is a legendary that I thought had a lot of potential when he was first spoiled. Unfortunately, not a whole lot that was spoiled afterwards to kind of set this guy up. But I saw this deck that recently topped at a local 1K event, and I thought it had a lot of potential, and I wanted to see just what this deck could do. Now, I've taken almost the exact list card for card with a few changes here based on what I thought was going to be something I would see more often than not, but I'll go over those changes in the breakdown of the deck, as well as show you some sample games where this deck was playing. Now, performance-wise, this deck performed at about a 63% win rate over the games that I tested, which is above average for any deck that you're going to be going out there. I do think it has some potential, but without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in and check out this deck. All right, first thing to point out, this deck comes in at about $387, so not a super budget-friendly list. The curve is very much a mid-range to high-level deck. Down here, you're going to see the inkables and non-inkables. We've got 50 inkables to 10 uninkables, which is actually a little higher than the original list ran. I think they were at 7 uninkables, so we added a few uninkables to the list. And as you'll notice, the almost entirety of the deck is characters, with only 3 item cards in that list as well. Kind of go through the cards here real quick. A lot of these are kind of self-explanatory. We got 4 copies of the 1-drop Stitch. This is in here because it shifts up into the 6-drop Stitch. The 1-drop Queen here, again, in here to shift up into the 5-drop Queen, which we'll talk more about both of those later on. We've got 2-drop Simba in here. He is a bodyguard, which we can use to protect some of our more important drops, but he also does trigger the Rockstar Stitch coming in at 2 to draw another card. The 3 willpower does also play into the fact that we are playing the Rapunzel gifted with healing, so he can kind of challenge, survive, and then be healed back up with that Rapunzel for some card draw. We have the 2-drop Mother Gothel, which again triggers the Rockstar Stitch, but then also comes in with 3 damage counters on her. This is a prime target early on to heal with Rapunzel, as it effectively is a 3/4 for 2 that allows you to draw 3 cards, which is a fantastic early game tempo swing. We've got 3 copies of Doc. I will say, in playing the deck, I was really not impressed with Doc. He's pretty understated, and a lot of times I often ended up inking him rather than trying to do something cute by putting him into play and questing. Unless you really hit him on 3, you're almost always better just inking him and having a permanent +1 ink, because the deck does tend to run low on cards unless you can get like early and often Rapunzel's going. All in all, just never really ended up being the impact card that I wanted in this particular deck, but he does quest for 2. You just really want to hope you don't hit him off of a Mufasa trigger. Minnie Mouse, on the other hand, is a huge tool for the deck to generate early pressure against your opponents. Hitting her on 3 and questing with an evasive character for 2 each turn really puts them on a very short clock to start getting things going. A lot of times you can just keep putting these Minnie Mouses into play and forcing them to have kind of the be prepared to reset the board while you've been holding all of your other cards back, waiting for them to deal with those. Just a very, very strong, fast-tempoed card in the deck. We have Rapunzel, gifted with healing. This is your primary card draw in the deck. She's going to synergize with a lot of the high willpower characters in here. We're running the 5-drop Maui, the Simbas, and the Mother Gothels are going to kind of be her primary targets to heal, but she's really the only way early on to replenish any of the cards you've been playing in the deck. So very, very strong card here. I would try to, more so than a lot of other decks, try to avoid inking her in this particular build. Now, Namari here as a 2-of is one of the first changes I made to the deck. The deck was originally running 2 of the 2-drop Queen with Rush. which is probably fine if you're playing a lot of aggro decks in your local metas. But I just don't see a lot of those locally, and I don't see a lot of them on Pixelborn, so the card really wasn't doing much for me other than just being inkable. The deck does struggle with cards like Arthur, characters that can kind of sit back and cause you problems that you can't challenge directly. So I wanted to bring in a direct way to deal with that Arthur. Namari's stats are decent enough at 4-drop, so she can kind of challenge into some stuff and then banish a bigger character later in the game. And then we have Mufasa. Mufasa is the reason why the deck is so heavily character-based. We want to make sure that this guy's ability does not miss when it goes off. Now, this guy is kind of the ultimate be prepared protection. You can put him into play and really build up a board that forces it, and then follow that up with a character off the top, hopefully minimally a 2 lore generator off of the top of the deck, so just that you can come right back into questing on the following turn. And honestly, this card's biggest strength isn't necessarily the random card that you're going to get hit off the top, but like the psychological aspect of your opponent. I have seen people purposely avoid challenging this character favorably because they're just scared of what could be. Now, as the person playing the deck, you have to understand that yes, he has the ability to flip some big stuff off, but he also has the ability to flip a 1-drop Stitch off the top of the deck as well. So just be careful that you don't put too many eggs in that basket, but a very powerful effect, especially in the current meta where Ruby is just running rampant with tons and tons of Be Prepareds. We have our Queen here, which is just a huge value character for this deck. Now, this particular build doesn't really have a way to abuse her early on like some of the Steel song lists do, since there are no songs in this particular list. I will say don't underestimate the ability to just shift her out on 2 and start generating lore for 2 on turn 2 can just be good enough to get your opponent on a clock. But then one of the big strengths of this deck is its ability to kind of survive the sweepers, and just throwing out a 1-drop queen late in the game and holding back a queen to be able to shift the following turn and quest for 2 rather than 1 can make the difference in a lot of games as well. Same with the Stitch. Don't underestimate that play to where you can just kind of generate spontaneous lore out of nowhere that your opponent can't do anything about. The Queen has the added benefit of her ability, Who is the Fairest, again, where she can kind of just come in, shift for 2, and then dramatically change the outcome of your ability to challenge in a particular combat. Next up is Maui as a 4-of. I've said it many times, this guy is the best removal spell that Ruby has, and just happens to be a character, which means he's a perfect fit for this deck. Comes in, he rushes, 6 strength, takes out darn near everything in the format right now. Cinderella, kind of the lone exception, and this deck has the ability to reuse him, restand him, and heal him. So he can absolutely just run rampant on your opponent's side of the board. And to top it all off, he's inkable, so he's never going to be a bad draw. Ratigan is the other tech change that we made in the deck. Like I said, the deck can struggle with a few targeted removals. Arthur probably being the biggest issue with LeFou restanding him. He comes in, takes the Arthur down, and restands one of your guys that can go in and challenge him. Also a good way to kind of generate some lore by questing with a character that may normally be vulnerable, and then using his ability to restand that character so they can't be challenged directly. He's also got a decent stat line in the fact that he can quest for 2 as well, so not quite the liability that Namari is. I don't know that I would put very many more copies in the deck for his ability. Again, he is uninkable, so we do have to be cautious with how many uninkables we put in the deck. And off the top with a Mufasa isn't always going to be super relevant either. So just be cautious. I have been happy with his inclusion in the deck, and you may want to try him with some more copies in your particular build. We've got Rockstar Stitch up next. Now, a lot of decks are playing Rockstar Stitch right now, mostly as a way to shift for 4 and cheat some higher cost songs. Again, we aren't playing any songs in this list, but we will take a 3 lore, 3/5 on turn 3, which this deck can do. But this deck can actually really take advantage of his Adoring Fans ability with a large number of 1-drops and 2-drops. This deck can go wide very quickly with an early Stitch as well. And again, late game, just keep in mind that you can always kind of limp out there with the 1-drop Stitch and then surprise your opponent the following turn with a 3 lore generator that comes in and does not have to dry. Next up is the 4 copies of Lady Tremaine. This card is an absolute house, especially in the current meta that is absolutely just filled with sweepers. They're going to be looking to tap out for a turn and, banish all characters in play and then follow it up with something their following turn. This character trades for that character 1 for 1. And has a decent stat line to follow it up afterwards. Can be a great hit after Mufasa as well, especially if you are trading in, or especially if you are challenging your Mufasa into one of their characters. Remove that one and then flip a Lady Tremaine off the top to take care of a character that may be held back. Just a very powerful effect altogether. We have our 7-drop Stitch. The original build had this as a 4 of. This is the 1 copy I took down for Ratigan. Just found that I very rarely was able to activate his Ohana ability. And as such, he just became a really high willpower 2 lore generator, which isn't terrible. But especially when you consider that you're going to be playing in a meta full of Be Prepared, he's just not going to have the ability to draw and trigger very often. You may want to look at even fewer copies for him. Now, if you can get a board established and get to 7 before your opponent does, you can really commit a lot to a board and at very low risk of a Be Prepared, since he replaces himself as well as get you another card in your hand. But those situations are pretty few and far between in the current meta. So all in all, I'm not even a huge fan of this Stitch. But again, not every deck in the format is playing Be Prepared, and as such, he can be something that really turns around some of those other matchups. Next up is Maleficent, the Monstrous Dragon, as a 4 of. Now, this card's probably a little bit overrepresented right now. There are a lot of decks that are just running this as a 4 of with no real way to get it into play other than just hoping the game goes that long, even though their decks are built to be a little bit more aggressive. But in this particular deck, we obviously don't have a great strategy to play it either. However, Mufasa can just flip it off of the top, so I think it does warrant its inclusion, but you will end up inking this card more often than not. That brings us to our last card and our only non-character card. We have 3 copies of Lantern. This is a card you're going to want to mulligan for early. You don't want them lingering in your deck, especially not all 3 copies whenever Mufasa gets triggered. It's going to help get you ahead of curve and keep the pressure on your opponent. Despite all the tricks that the deck can do, it's really an aggro deck, and this is going to help push that curve. It's going to allow for your turn 3 Stitches and your turn 4 Mauis, things that are going to be ahead of curve to keep the pressure on your opponent, so they have to make decisions maybe out of necessity versus the best value possible. I wouldn't run this as a 4 of, again, because you're increasing your chances of hitting it off of a Mufasa or just drawing multiple copies, which you rarely do want multiple copies of this card. But I like it as a 3 of, possibly even a 2 of, depending on how aggressively you want to mulligan for that particular card. So let's go check out a few games with the deck. All right, getting started in Platinum with our Amber Ruby list. All right, we've got a lot of high-end stuff here. We really want to get something to shift the queen with. No such luck. So good. Let's see here. I'm not going to play her on 2. Okay, what we got here? Steel Song. Oh, probably. Which means she's probably dead next turn. It is what it is. At least I'll be able to kill the Cinderella if he does sing it. Yep. Which is fine. We didn't have the card to ramp into anyways. Interesting. Go ahead and get her out of there. Let's see. Is it gonna be Mufasa or Minnie Mouse? All right. So regardless of which one he shifts, if he sings, we're not in a terrible spot. I can challenge into there, and then next turn we can Maui into the Queen if he doesn't sing. Even if he sings, like we should be in a pretty good spot. Yep. Okay. Take it. Let's see here. Quest. I'll play that. Can't get him out. He can't sing Whole New World if he's dead. I think we're gonna do Minnie Mouse again. So then if he also has the Stitch here to go 4 and then Whole New World, again, still not in a terrible spot. I'm going to guess he does not, which is fine. Let's see. Quest. 4, 3... I really still not play this thing. All the cost reduction. Oh no, I still can't do it. 2. That's a bug with the game. All right. Okay. Well, that's unfortunate. Definitely should have stacked. It's good to know, though. If you activate a dock and play a non-character card, it looks like it will turn off his ability. Let's see. I'll get it to 7. It's unfortunate. I think I'd rather keep Doc. 6, 7, 8. We'll go ahead and ink that, I guess. There's not really much reason to keep it. Really should have 2 more lore here. Interesting. All right, actually, pretty good top deck. This is kind of where we want to be at. Force him to just play the whole new world, not even be able to sing it. He's in a bad spot for what his deck can do. Okay. Oh, it's bad news, bud. I mean, I could banish it with Namari even if I didn't have the other Lady Tremaine. So, I mean, yes, it was a good top deck, but it's not like we would have been in a bad spot, really. Yeah. All right. All right, that's pretty good. I'm going to keep both of these and see if we get either one of those chains, and we'll keep the dock. We didn't, which is unfortunate. He got the queen. Oh, hey, there we go. That's pretty nice. Let's see. What do I think he's gonna turn to? Whole New World me. Let's see. No. Okay. He's gonna turn to queen though. It's not too shabby. Okay. Not really anything we can do here. So we just pass. If he attacks again, depending on what he plays here, probably. Yeah, he's not going to attack with Doc. Let's see. What do I want to ink here, though? That's the question. Let's see. I'll be at 4. I'll be at 5 next turn for a rat again. Guess the duplicate Stitch? His Teeth and Ambitions, if he's playing that, could be good here. I don't know if he's playing the heavy character build. He's got a Doc out, so it's probably a good chance. Now that works out really nicely for me. Let's see. Can't really take advantage. Draw. pretty good. Who do I want to ink? This is a Doc. Probably is just Doc here. Oh. Okay. Probably delaying the inevitable. So, all right. 2 games, 2 different matches. All right, going second this time. Not a great opener. I'm getting rid of all this but Stitch. Oh, man. It was rough. All right. Let's get a draw. Red, I guess. Aladdin, it's... Nope. Got blue, sapphire. All right. Well, let's see what we get. We're missing a lot of our early game here. Probably has a teeth and ambitions. Let's see. Being down 2 Mufasas doesn't make me great. I think he's pretty good in this matchup. Actually, gosh, halfway tempted to just do the Simba. Yeah, I'm not really too worried about him challenging. So, it's unfortunately just got a heavy early uninkable draw with those 2. And no Doc and no... That's a decent rip there. Okay. Hopefully I draw something inkable next turn. Oh, that's bad news. He already inked 1 big Aladdin. I think he's got a second big Aladdin. Okay. That. Oh, man. I'll just quest with her. I can't risk him having another big Aladdin. Especially not, having outs. Yeah. He did have it. So. Alright. Well, I think right now we can kind of keep pace with him. Quest here. Ink there. Play Mufasa. Okay. All right, he's digging deep now. That's really unfortunate. Let's see here. It really doesn't do me any good right now, does it? Quest. And restand rat again, I guess. Oh, man. Kind of want to kill Flavisham here. Maybe next turn. Yep. I need targeted removal for him, unfortunately. That I just don't have. Okay. What we got here? I can kill her. Like Flavisham. It's the bigger problem here. Feel like at this point I'll just take my lore. He's going to have something to deal with Stitch here soon. Hades, Maleficent, be prepared. I'll take my lore, I guess. At this point, I probably won't commit anything else to the board. Yeah, do that stuff right there. Mufasa triggers. Get Doc. Not terrible. Get the cost as low as possible. Not a terrible spot right here. It's all right. So one card in hand. How many popsicles in here already? 2. Okay, so we don't want him to hit like a Flavisham. That would be bad right here. Let's see here. I think I just wait. I'm gonna try to bait him. Go to 16. I don't really need the cost reduction other than Maleficent off the top. He's probably going to try to race. So yeah, let's go for it. Let's just see if he quests. Okay. Noi into Scar. Interesting. Let's see. 7, 8, 9. Pretty good. Scar's going to take out Doc. Let's try this. Quest here. Okay. So it doesn't do me much good. So you can just challenge here and restand. So I think I gotta risk it like this. If he just goes to 19, has me in a pretty good spot. Okay. Just hope this... Okay. All right. Let's see here. Challenge. Going to quest. Going to reduce. Banish. Quest. So he needs a be prepared. And then we've got a handful of lore generators that double for 2. Yeah, he doesn't even have anything to follow it up with. So let's see here. Cost reduce was at 10. I don't have enough to do both. So we'll just drop her. And that, just in case he's got a Lady Tremaine. Okay. All right. He needs a be prepared. Okay, didn't have it. All right, so pretty close game. Going second, though. Still came out on top. All right, let's see what we got here. Absolutely nothing. Awesome. Love throwing 7 back. Wow. Of 14 cards, we got one drop. All right. Awesome. And then 2 of our Maleficents are out of the deck. Okay. him. And we'll go ahead and put the bodyguard down. Keep her back in case he's got teeth and ambitions. Only want to have her down for 1 turn instead of 2. Okay. Keep her just in case we hit the other queen. But we'll most likely ink her next turn. Yep, there's the teeth. Three Maleficents down the drain. I don't think he is going to challenge unless he can kill. He is already just playing super conservative around that. No cost reduction sucks. Like, not being able to play this for 2 more turns is really going to hurt. I don't think I can play anything else into the board here, though. This guy's playing just so tight around Rapunzel. Like, I almost just want to replay her, but that's fine. Clearly don't have the big stitch in my hand. Yep. Hey, look. I get to draw this person too. Two Teeth and Ambitions and the Madam Mim. His opener has definitely been better than mine has. And a card. And Merlin, the rabbit. It's great. I swear I could find out this guy was screen watching. Alright. Pop the Merlin. Yep. Didn't end up inking last turn though, which means he wanted to hold on to that mini. Decent draw there. All right. I think I'm fine with even the rusher. Because he has another rush and Teeth and Ambitions. It's less ideal. Be able to take out both of them. Actually, don't mind that at all. That is interesting. I don't really want to ink any of that. I feel like that and that. If he doesn't ink here, I can go pretty aggressive. He did ink though, so he's probably got to be prepared in his hand. Probably hold these. Probably won't play anything unless it's a Mufasa, honestly. Maybe a Rapunzel, depending on what happens here. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to guess he's got to be prepared. And he just doesn't want to give up that much lore next turn. All right. I guess I'll play him. That's pretty risk-free and represents the win by himself if he doesn't have some Weight of Wrath here. All right. Well, that's game over, boys. Teeth and Ambition, ink a card, and play the Rush Mim. It's still not enough. Can you be able to sing Teeth and Ambitions with Lady Tremaine? Yep. So there you guys have it. There's the deck breakdown and some gameplay footage for the Ruby Amber Mufasa list. I'd love to hear what you guys think down in the comment section below. If you guys have tried this list yourself or just excited to give it a try, I'd love to hear about it. Until next time though, guys, Hobby Hero out.